Okay, we are rolling. We are rolling, brother. Champions of Champions Boxing Talk is back. Well, just a quick video before I go out for a run. On Anthony Joshua v Andy Ruiz, the rematch. Taking place very bizarrely in Saudi Arabia. Now, the only thing I can think of there is, you know, the money was too good to turn down from, you know, the aspect of both fighters, both challenger and champion. And let's be certain here, Andy Ruiz is the champion. Anthony Joshua is the challenger. I know people are finding that hard to, you know, come to terms with, but that's a fact, right? Let me just say this, the bookmakers, according to Richard Dwyer, have Anthony Joshua as favourite. I don't know how Anthony Joshua is the favourite. Can anybody tell me in the class right now why Anthony Joshua is the favourite? All I can think of is he's the, you know, the pay-per-view star. That's the reason he's the favourite. You know, a bit like, you know, you've got, I don't know, a tremendous actor, say, who works in the West End in Britain, and he is in the Old Vic doing Shakespeare and a master of his craft. And then people automatically presume Brad Pitt is a greater actor because he's in Hollywood. That's the only reason for me that Anthony Joshua seems to be the favourite. He's the Hollywood boxer. But going off what I saw in the first fight, there's some work to do for Anthony Joshua to earn that status of being the favourite. Let's just say this, right? Only really great technicians do well in rematches. You've got Andre Ward, who did better in the Kovalev rematch. You've got both Pacquiao and Marquez, who both did better in their rematches. You've got Floyd Mayweather that did better in his rematches with Castillo and Maidana and so forth. But those guys are great technicians. Anthony Joshua right now is not close. He is a talent and natural puncher. Big, strong. You know, has developed that jab really well, I think, in the last couple of years. But there are obvious things there which are underdeveloped. Right? Number one, there is no better style for a fast combination puncher who is also a good counter puncher and good in an exchange than a guy who has slower hand speed, has weakish, leaky defense at times, has very static upper body movement, and at times has no head movement. In fact, the little head movement that his opponent has stops when he gets hit. Joshua, that is what I'm talking about. That is Anthony Joshua. There are his flaws, right? Right there. And his feet, because sometimes he gasses, get slower as the fight goes on. Now, who is Anthony Joshua perfect for? The fast punching combination guy. The guy with the faster hands. Joshua's hands are slower too, right? Let's not forget that. Andy Ruiz is capable of beating Anthony Joshua to the punch, right hand or left hand, right? Let's also remember, Anthony Joshua dropped Andy Ruiz with a left hand, and many people thought that was the beginning of the end, but one guy did not. That was Andy Ruiz. He got up from the canvas as if to say, oh, I'm still here. Usually people are gone who take this punch from Joshua. And it actually spurred Andy Ruiz on. And then he knew, once he dropped Joshua himself, that he had sort of a static target for his hand speed, right? It took Andy Ruiz 3 rounds, I think, to figure that out. Now he knows the score in the rematch. He knows the score. And as I said, they've made Joshua the favourite, right? And this rematch is taking place. Now, there was another rematch that was suggested recently of two, world-class fighters. That's Pacquiao v Keith Thurman too. And the public were kind of like, we don't know about that, man. Manny's won it. Fair enough. We should move on. And I agree. I'd rather see Pacquiao fight someone else. But let's just be honest. Keith Thurman did a lot better against Pacquiao than Joshua did against Andy Ruiz. Let's be real. I mean, if there was not a rematch clause there, you have to honour rematch clauses in boxing. I understand that. That's the contract. But let's say there was no rematch clause, Anthony Joshua wasn't as famous as he is, and we'd have seen that happen to him against Andy Ruiz. Nobody would be clamouring for that rematch. It was beyond conclusive. Joshua did not get beat. He got beaten to a pulp, right? If Anthony Joshua was a gifted but kind of semi-known heavyweight, people would say, oh God, what's this rematch happening for? Didn't the Mexican prove he was far superior in the first fight? Right? It's true though. Anything else is you basically being a supporter of Anthony Joshua if you say anything different. Imagine Anthony Joshua is not, as famous as the Queen of England. Would anybody be, really desperate to see that rematch? No. It's a bit like when Mike Tyson beat Frank Bruno. The rematch, I remember at the time there weren't many people excited about it because they kind of knew the score. Tyson's just got his number. Right? We could be in a situation where Anthony Ruiz just has his number. Because let me say this. He can't really go hand-to-hand combat with Andy Ruiz. You can work on hand speed, but some people are just born with it. And Andy Ruiz has just got the quicker hands. That's number one. Right? Number two, Joshua has to keep him. I've got to believe that Anthony Joshua is going to become Lennox Lewis v David Tua on December 7th. I've got to believe that Anthony Joshua is going to be dancing around that ring, frustrating Andy Ruiz with a jab in his face all night, breaking him down, for 12 constant rounds, a la Muhammad Ali. I'm supposed to believe that them feet are not going to go slow. I'm expected to believe that when Anthony Joshua is up against the ropes, he, parries and blocks every combination Andy Ruiz throws, a la Floyd Mayweather. I don't know. I think there could be potential problems for Anthony Joshua. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If Anthony Joshua pulls this off, I'm giving him massive credit because this is a terrible style for him. The people are calling this a massive upset. It wasn't. There were signs. There was signs that something like this could happen. Every good fighter Anthony Joshua fights, he takes heavy leather from him. He gets hit and he gets hit hard at some stage. And he is put at times in survival mode. Dillian White's done it. Klitschko's done it. Povetkin did it. Andy Ruiz has done it. They all hurt him. Right? And defensively, again, he doesn't clinch. For a guy of his size and strength, when the other guys are throwing, you're thinking, don't just put the high guard up there, hold. Because Andy Ruiz punches around the side of your head, not just straight punches. You see? Richard Dwyer come out with a very good point. He calls him adaptive reactive. In other words, he tailors his punches to where the position of your defense is. Right? Also, we have to remember Andy Ruiz. If Anthony Joshua is thinking of good footwork, he's going to need it. Because Andy Ruiz, I think it was in the 6th round, did some devastating body work on Anthony Joshua. Really took the wind out of those sails. But Joshua, again, is not known for Muhammad Ali's stamina. He's not known for Lennox Lewis's ability to box front and back foot and be defensively very responsible, right? Let's say, we're going to dig back into the past for a second here. Let's say Shane Mosley would have finished Floyd Mayweather that night, right? When he caught him. And, you know, he really did stun Floyd. He stunned him twice in sort of the one motion, right? But had Shane Mosley been able to finish the job by hook or by crook, the rematch would be clear because Floyd Mayweather would know what he has to do. But Floyd Mayweather knows he could do what he has to do, if that makes sense. There is no need for development. The skills are already there. In other words, when I get hurt by Mosley, again, clinch. Box on the back foot. Take the sting out of Mosley. Dance around that ring. Use my foot speed, head movement, all this stuff. It was already there with Floyd Mayweather. Manny Pacquiao, when he took that, you know, huge right hand at an angle against Marquez, which knocked him out. Pacquiao instantly, after he got up and was sat in the corner with Freddie Roach and the team, he was already thinking about what not to do next time he fights a very good right-handed fighter, right? And he could execute it. He has. He hasn't been knocked out since. Not even looked like it, right? Anthony Joshua, before the Andy Ruiz fight, has been prey to the same things over again. And he does seem to struggle with the little guys getting on the inside and getting shots off, right? Again, we had Dylan White, the warning. That was there. Povetkin. And then, of course, Andy Ruiz finishes the job. Now, Joseph Parker was a guy that Anthony Joshua successfully kept at bay with his jab to win a unanimous decision. But we are forgetting something. Joseph Parker was not allowed to work on the inside over here. He wasn't. The referee, every time Joseph Parker got close to Anthony Joshua, the referee gave Joseph Parker a parking ticket. He did. He gave him a parking ticket every time Joseph Parker tried to close the space down and get some fire going. He was extinguished by the referee. Anthony Joshua, in fact, was refereeing that match, if truth be told. Now, the location of Saudi Arabia, it's a bit strange, but there are many theories going round, right? But before I get to that, Hatman actually said something, you know, I think that is relevant. He said, you know, your flaws are not just shown in your defeats. Your flaws are shown in your wins and your draws, etc. Every time Joshua won these fights but took punishment, I don't think anybody bothered to correct any errors. I think they were just happy to cash them checks and say, well done, AJ. Was there anybody in that camp saying, you know, you did good, but this could be better? Floyd Mayweather, you know, just it helped induct his father, Floyd Sr., into the Nevada Hall of Fame the other day. One of the things Floyd said was the reason he loves his dad is not because he praised him, but because he criticised him. Every time Floyd Mayweather, and I think even this included that masterclass against Canelo Alvarez, every time Floyd Mayweather pulled something off, his dad always said, it was okay, son, but you can do better. You can do better. He even said in the Cotto fight, which Floyd won, you're getting hit too much. I don't like it. It's time for me to take over. Look at him in the corner with Manny Pacquiao. The father said to the son, look, you ain't doing well in this fight. In his opinion, Floyd Mayweather was not doing well in the Pacquiao fight. He was just honest with him. And that's what Floyd Mayweather liked about his father, right? Joshua, I don't think has had anybody to say that stuff to him, or anybody that could say that stuff to him. Because you see, Eddie Hearn is not related to Joshua. His trainer's not related to Joshua. You know, Floyd can't get away from his dad, you know, or Roger. They're family. You know, he has to speak to them at some point. They're going to tell him the truth as they see it. And of course, what is Floyd? Receptive. The fact that he said, I appreciated my dad being very critical, meant that Floyd is willing to listen. right? Did the fame and glory get to Anthony Joshua's head a little bit in terms, again, of his boxing development? Yes, we could say Floyd has cars and watches and all of this stuff, but he takes nothing for granted in the ring and was always looking to improve, right? Anthony Joshua now has got to have the same attitude. Here's the problem he faces in Saudi Arabia, though. A lot of that crowd is not going to be English. It's not going to be American. They're wanting to pay money, the Saudi people, the Arabs, to see the best that boxing can deliver. If Anthony Joshua puts on a jab fest and bores the world to a decision, he's going to get some massive criticism, right? Boxing will take a black eye. So the pressure is really on. But as I said, even if Joshua goes that route, if a referee lets Andy Ruiz work, which Joseph Parker was not allowed to do, can Anthony Joshua jab, move, and move side to side and use, real good head movement, catch shots, be defensively responsible, tuck those elbows tightly into the body before Andy Ruiz's hand speed fires body shots? Can Anthony Joshua do all this within a couple of months? It is a task. Again, the bookies, they're making him favourite because he is the favourite son. He's the most popular son. But it's about hope. But the good news about hope is, who knows? Joshua may pull it all together. I mean, this is boxing. He could do it. It is possible. But going off the evidence of the first fight, that is a mountain to climb. People have climbed Everest. Joshua could do it. I am not saying any different. But Andy Ruiz will feel that he has a responsibility as a Mexican to give his very best. I'm hearing from the grapevine that he is in better shape than before. You don't want Andy Ruiz with more speed, because the thing that made Joshua survive a little bit longer in the first fight was the fact that Andy Ruiz's legs were a little bit slow in closing the space. He sort of had to wait for Joshua to initiate something, and then the fast hands come into play once they were close. If Andy Ruiz loses a few pounds and can move those feet quicker, he can get into range quicker. And, of course, Joshua, in panic or in plan, has to throw then. And when he throws, Andy Ruiz knows, it's just nature, that he has the faster hands. Right? So, Anthony Joshua, I don't think I've seen much of that uppercut in that fight. And I think Anthony Joshua, as the fight wore on, was becoming a little tentative. Don't underestimate what psychology plays in boxing matches. Joshua knows he can be beaten by Andy Ruiz. He knows he can drop Andy Ruiz, and Andy Ruiz can get up and take Joshua's power from then on in. Right? That is a big advantage to Andy Ruiz, as long as Andy Ruiz is not overconfident, right? But psychology is 80%, if not 90% of everything in this world. Look at the shape of the two guys. You wouldn't think Andy Ruiz was the athlete. You wouldn't presume Andy Ruiz was going to be the faster guy, but he was. Why? Mindset. I think Andy Ruiz believed, this guy, he's made for me. As good as he is, he's made for me. Sometimes styles just are what they are. And I'm glad I've got this style in front of me, because I can beat him to the punch. And I can hurt him. Right? But Joshua knows there's a guy out there that could take his punch. There's a guy out there that can dish out better than what Joshua can give. There's a guy out there that's faster than him. There's a guy out there whose ring IQ is up there with his. There's a guy out there that has actually done it. There's a guy out there that has no doubts. Well, Joshua may have some, But whatever doubts Joshua's got, he's got to get them out of his head. And he's got to work on these flaws. But the question is, as Mike Tyson used to say, everybody's got a plan until they get hit. Will Joshua be doing the new tricks, get clipped with something, and then go static again? He can't look like Frankenstein on that night. I'm not saying he does, but compared with Andy Ruiz's hand speed, yes, that upper body does look like Frankenstein. Right? It does. It needs work. It needs work, in my opinion. Right? And again, this was such a seismic upset. No, it really wasn't. Because it wasn't like Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas, because Mike Tyson, no matter what you think of the opposition he was fighting at the time, he was mowing through opponents. Mowing through them before he fought Buster Douglas. There was no sign that that was going to happen. With Joshua, as Hatman said, long before, he hinted that Anthony Joshua's first defeat was looming. It was coming. Because again, fight after fight, the same things and the same way he was being clipped was happening. Right? I presume that Anthony Joshua could go undefeated throughout his whole career. But maybe I was buying into the publicity machine behind him there. But Hatman, credit to him, did not see it that way. He was looking at it from a more technical perspective. That's what I'm doing now. I'm kind of looking at these bookmakers and thinking, you guys must be Anthony Joshua's uncle to have him favourite at this point. It's better for Anthony Joshua to be the underdog and pull the victory off. Doesn't that look fantastic? Because Joshua will get massive credit, obviously. He'll be back where he was before. And he will show that he is able to make adjustments. And there is a true ring IQ there. Right? But he's not facing Deontay. You see, Deontay Wilder is one-handed. Andy Ruiz is two-handed. Now, of course, I believe if Deontay Wilder lands that shot on Anthony Joshua, it is night-night. Joshua will be on pins against Deontay Wilder. And Wilder has faster hands too, or the faster hand. Particularly his dominant power punch, right? Of course, Joshua could defeat him. Styles make fights. Because Ruiz did it doesn't mean that Deontay Wilder does it, but we shall see. But yeah, it's a strange location for me. I don't think it offers a great advantage for Joshua in any way, shape or form. It might put pressure on him to perform and throw reckless punches at times, which he doesn't need to be doing. It needs to be compact and responsible. But the problem with that is, if it's a bore fest, it doesn't look too good for the sport, especially over there. People are going to say, what? This is the best that Britain has to offer? Are you kidding me? I mean, Amir Khan stopped his opponent. Whatever you think about that opponent, that looked good to the guys over there. This has to look good. You know, for it to truly take off. And I wasn't aware of this. But Dwyer also said that Anthony Joshua said that what put him off in the first fight was the boos that he was getting in the crowd. Anthony Joshua had no boos in that crowd. They were all for Anthony Joshua, both British and American. It was home from home, that fight. Right? To me, it seems like he was hit on the head too hard when he's coming out with stuff like that. He has the ability to pull this off. I'm not saying any different. He's got power. And he's been a world champion. And he's got pride. But I hope he's got the analysis to make, you know, the corrections count when fight time arrives in December. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, the crowd, again, won't be all English because you know, it's a lot easier going to London than it is Saudi Arabia, you know? But we shall see. How am I seeing this fight as of right now? I'm seeing Andy Ruiz winning the rematch. You know, I again, I don't think Anthony Joshua... See, people are born with hand speed. People are born with reflexes. They just have them. Some people do. I think that a ring IQ is a lot harder to develop than people give it credit for. I think some people in boxing have that ring IQ, just that little bit more than the rest, and it's natural to them. We all have a natural talent for something. I think the ring IQ is one of them in the boxing sense. And I'm a little bit skeptical of Anthony Joshua's ring IQ at times. Right? We'll see. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I will be delighted if he does. But Lennox Lewis, to me, when he lost his fights, again like Floyd Mayweather, he already had the skills to prevent it happening again. Right? But Anthony Joshua hasn't developed those skills yet. Maybe he's in the process of it. I don't know. I hope so. But Lennox Lewis already had it there. We knew that Lennox Lewis would beat Rathman in the rematch. We knew that once he got his claws into Oliver McCall was not going to land that shot again. But with Anthony Joshua, in his loss and in his victories, these smaller guys have landed them shots time and time again. Be interesting to see if the penny is dropped and if he can prevent it next time. Anyway, I'm off on my run now. It's nice and rainy outside here in the UK. It'll be a little bit hotter come December for Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz. This is Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. How about, brother?